Everybody ready to get started? Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to welcome everybody to the February 8th meeting of the Sykesville Town Council. Appreciate your patience from last time. We were snowed out. So we have a full agenda, and I do want to keep things moving. So I just to let you guys know, I do, since there's mainly folks here, I am trying to run the meeting a little more effectively. And I'd like to start to try to get us done this portion by 9. So I'm going to try to do a better job of working that with residents as well. And as far as like their comments section, when we have public concerns, I'm going to try to refer them to the departments that they need to be. And then, if it can't be handled at that stage, then we can look at bringing it up. A lot of times the public brings issues to the meeting that don't really need to be dealt with at the mayor and town council level that night. So I'm finding it is, so I owe it to you guys to do a better job. So I'm going to try to do a better job, and then also try to work better with the public as far as, keeping us moving, because I just think it's been a little too long, the meeting. So in that vein, let's get started. I don't think there's going to be any public concerns this evening, but are there any concerns that? Okay. Minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from January 11th?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Julia.
Yep, Julia, thank you. I saw the email. So do we have a motion to?
Motion to approve the January 11th, 2016 minutes.
Second.
Okay, so we got Julia and Anna. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, minutes are approved. All right, so we'll get right on to public safety report, Chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Mike's a very sensitive place.
We're actually going to be covering 2 periods since we missed one last time. So this report will cover from January 6th through February 2nd. You should have all received 2 copies of both public safety reports. And what I've done just to speed things along here a little quicker tonight is combine the totals for both of those public safety reports, which I'll run through. And then any questions you may have about any specific incidents, I'll be more than happy to address them at that point. So for the period January 6th through February 2nd, we had 1 accidental overdose, 2 animal complaints, 3 assaults, 12 assist others, 3 burglar alarms, 3 civil cases, 5 community policing or special assignments, 23 crossing details, 1 disorderly conduct, 2 domestic, which were verbal, 1 follow-up, 8 foot patrols, 2 lost or found property cases, 1 forgery, 9 house checks, 4 miscellaneous calls, 1 noise complaint, 1 notification, 3 parking violations, 461 patrol checks, 1 police information, 7 accidents, or collisions I should say, 10 safety equipment repair orders that were signed off, 6 suspicious persons or vehicle, 2 thefts, 33 traffic enforcement initiatives, 8 traffic hazards, 2 traffic offenses, 2 violation of town ordinance, 3 welfare checks, for a total of 620 incidents. With that said, I'll address any specific questions anybody may have about any of the reports or other incidents.
Any questions for the chief?
No, sir.
I don't know.
Just one, I see we had a Warfield thing. Has that been an ongoing issue or is?
You're talking about the
Still-
damage to the front doors?
Yeah,
Still happens from time to time. Our officers are doing a great job of keeping a close eye on that whole complex, particularly Officer Kirkner, who makes it a point, makes a point of being up there and looking around very closely. And so all we can do is continue to keep an eye on it, try to deter what we can, but make sure that it's, each and every incident is reported and investigated thoroughly.
okay,
And it's about the best we can do at this point.
okay. All right. Any other questions for the chief?
Did want to read real briefly just a note that we received here. Always good to get compliments from our residents. This was a thank you for Officer Deal and our intern, Alec Bosley, from a resident on Norris Avenue. Took the time to make up a nice little card that said, "Thank you for going beyond your duty to help a neighbor in need. A big thank you to the Sykesville Police Department for all they do, and in particular, thank you to Officer Stephen Deal and his intern for stopping to help me move a heavy piece of baby furniture that had been delivered to a neighbor. It was pouring rain and the piece would have been ruined if they had not taken time to stop and help. And they actually helped her move it to a safe place where it would be dry. I was talking to the sergeant tonight, and we never thought that moving equipment would be included in our job functions. But anytime we can help a resident out, I think it's good PR and good community policing. So.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And I too wanted to thank you for your help with the snowstorm. I mean, it was pretty amazing. The chief was here and helped out with the public works, and it was a great team effort. So I wanted to thank you for all that time and help. That was huge, man. So we really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. It was a collective team effort, and I couldn't have done it without all the officers and working closely with Ron and his crew. Good team effort.
Yeah, so thank you for that. I know they were doing some ride-alongs and doing with the public works and then the pre-snow stuff. So I think we had a great communication. This is the best communication before the storm that we ever had since I've been mayor, at least. And so
I think we were as prepared as we could be.
yeah,
Looks
so
like we may have a chance to
test everything
test
again
it
for
all
a
out
little bit.
again.
Hopefully not as much.
Not on the same scale from
Yeah.
when I'm here.
Right. So, but thank you for that, and thank you, guys. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Do we have a treasurer's report this evening?
The report was sent out and
Yep.
there were comments. So this is a carryover from the last meeting.
Okay. Any
I just want to share that I brought up the police station electric again, even though I thought it was maybe beating a dead horse. And I'm happy to say that Mark did some research, and it turned out that there were some fan issues set to the on position and another fan that was not functioning correctly, I think. Anyway, hopefully we might see some savings. We'll see.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Julie.
It'll make
Yeah,
me
no,
happy.
that was a good job. And then also Julie noticed on the girls' shelter
Yeah.
too, like so apparently the ejector pump runs up there like constantly.
The sump pump, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and my concern is that even if it is, which is, it shouldn't be, but even if it is, I'm still bamboozled by those monthly charges
Yeah.
being that much, even for the sump pump. I mean, the sump pump would burn up before it would,
Well, that thing was huge. I remember we looked at it and it was a really big system down there. So I don't know what the whole story is, but I know we were getting a lot of water from the gatehouse. Remember all that water that was coming through to the gatehouse?
okay.
So I think there's a lot of water comes through there.
It's a cracked foundation on that house, isn't it?
Yeah. So that house has like some, yeah. But
I actually thought there was an issue with, there's a sewer pump because it has to pump the sewage uphill. That's pretty large. So
So that shouldn't be running
Should- yeah.
unless someone's,
unless
running water.
stormwater is coming in.
that's
That'd
what
be-
I think.
Oh, you think the stormwater is getting into the sewage ejector pump?
Mark's gonna do some further testing.
That would make more sense, because that would use way more energy, it'd be
Right.
less likely to burn up before it would run up a bill. Gosh.
Yeah, so it's probably some sort of grinder
Yep.
thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're further thing, but I think
Didn't
it's good that
realize that.
Julia brought it up, noticed it and brought it up so we can investigate. So good job, Julia.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Motion to approve the November 2015 Treasurers Report.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
That's Chris.
Chip.
Okay, council committee reports. Guess we'll start down with you, Stacy, Historic District Commission?
Well, I unfortunately, for the commission, was not present at the last meeting because I was on vacation, fortunately for me.
Yes.
So I don't have any report. I can defer to Dawn. I believe we only had one application for review. And I don't know if any business was discussed at that meeting.
So the one application was with the distillery for the signage and outdoor lighting and some other exterior modifications to the building, all of which were approved, right, Janice?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. And then I can report on our process thus far with locating and hiring a curator for the Gatehouse Museum. There were a few candidates interviewed and 2 were brought back for a second interview in which I participated with Dawn. Can I discuss the plan for the possibility of pairing up things, or is that something we'll discuss at a later time?
We'll discuss in closed session. I
Sure,
think, and then-
okay. So yeah, we're getting close to hopefully finding someone to fill that position, and I'm real excited about it actually. Our next Historic District Commission meeting is on February 23rd at 7 p.m. here in this room.
Okay, thank you. Emma? Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, we met on Thursday, right after the snowstorm, so that was 28th. And finalizing the movies in the park, and I believe that I mentioned that at the last meeting. And then we met with the Eagle Scout about the sign that he's going to construct over at Cooper Park, and this is a rudimentary design of it. It's gonna be made out of Trex like decking boards, which are gonna be composite wood. And it's gonna have like a little tented thing and slats so we can put movies or events and so forth. It's gonna be no maintenance or very low maintenance, with the opportunity of changing the slats with our events. He was thinking initially about putting the sign across from the Gatehouse Museum, but the whole intent of the sign is to have traffic see it.
Yeah.
So if there is an event or a cancellation of an event, that everybody driving by. So we're thinking about moving it onto Springfield Road, where it meets, and it's gonna be a little difficult. We're trying to figure out the best place. And I know that we were talking about making Cooper Park as ADA accessible as possible. And I know that Dawn has been speaking with Mark about doing something, but Billy, by the kindness of his heart, made a graph, and I'll pass this on to you, about making ADA accessibility to at least the Snack Shack, which has the bathroom facilities at a least cost of effective way, which it would be the blue connecting the ADA parking to the Snack Shack.
Cool.
And I know that Dawn had previously, Sandy was thinking about that. So I'll pass that
Great,
on to
thank
you, Dawn. And then we are looking, now gearing up for sponsors for our movies and concerts in the park. And that's it.
Great, thank you. So the Warfield Development Corporation did not meet. We've deferred that meeting to potentially later because we're still working with the Warfield Collaborative to get updates on where they are in the process of trying to close, hopefully in March, but it's ongoing discussions, so stay tuned. We're working on it. Main Street.
So we had a very successful, overly successful Ice Fest and Black Ice Gala this past weekend. I'm glad the cameras are here because I want to go on record. and take complete blame for the one complaint for the Ice Fest, which was the buses. I under-evaluated the popularity of this first-time event and just ordered one bus, and we could have used 3, apparently. So, but that was the only complaint as far as I know. Stephen, you did a great job.
Yeah.
The addition of the ice rink, I think, was huge. I think that's what really brought a lot of the kids down, a lot of the people down. But this was Stephen's first individual event, not something that we've been running for years. This was actually Stephen's first, his idea, his baby, and he ran with it and did a great job. I really want to thank you and thank the police and Public Works for all the work they did. These guys really go above and beyond for helping out with our events. So you guys do a great job.
Here, here.
Thank you.
And we've got some things we're going to learn from this event, and it'll be better next year. But I think it was very well received. I saw all the comments online.
Yeah, got a lot of press on that too, because it was the only thing going on, so that was kind of interesting how that worked out, but yeah, good job. So it was pretty crazy. A lot of folks came.
And who'd ever thought? 300 people, black tie,
You're in
in
Sykesville.
downtown Sykesville. Amazing.
Right.
Great job.
It was at least 300. Was it more than that?
For the gala?
For the gala?
Was, actually it was just shy of 300.
Okay.
I sold about 290 tickets.
Very good.
It's awesome.
I never thought that many
No.
dressed up people. I'm like, oh,
Right, yeah, it was something else.
So then next planning is going to be for the Art and Wine Festival on May Street, May 1st. We're getting planning that. When's the next planning meeting?
Sometime next week. but
Okay.
I couldn't tell you what the date is off the top of my head.
Okay. We'll put it online.
Yep, good job.
Were there,
I'm sorry.
I don't know, is it Stephen, if you wanted to add anything more?
Right,
about the
yeah,
Ice
do you want to
Fest,
share
or-
anything? You can come up to, do you want to come up to the podium and share
Yes,
any
you should.
additional info? You probably should tonight, because you'll be famous for
I've
info.
been on TV enough for the last. I cannot tell you how many people I had to come up to me, people I've never seen before in my life, come up to me and say, "Hey, I know you. You were on TV yesterday."
Nice.
And that was an experience. So yeah, as Leo mentioned, and I don't want him taking complete blame for the buses because the planning effort for the festival was a group effort, and the blame really lies on the press who blew up our event the day beforehand and probably doubled the attendance that we were expecting. So we will definitely work out some of those kinks for next year. And then for the Black Ice Gala, we did have just shy of 300 people in a beautiful heated tent, wonderfully decorated by our volunteers, with great food. And that's a partnership that the Main Street Association is particularly proud of, that we were able to bring together some of our finest businesses downtown, having that event catered by EW Beck's, Baldwin Station, and Kevin's Catering. So overall, both events were an incredible success, and I think we're looking forward to having them again next year, learning and making them bigger and better. So are there any questions for me about anything related to either event?
Can you add more for the gala? I mean, your 300 seemed pretty max.
It was, so the gala ended at 10 o'clock, and by 10:20, our tent guy was already talking to me about how we could add at least 50% more tent space, if not more. So I think we're definitely thinking bigger and better for next year.
My one comment is next year to have tables for people that did not come with a table.
Absolutely,
So
and
have table space for everyone.
yeah, we're definitely rethinking some of those logistics for next year, and we'll also triple confirm our bathroom reservations. So, but otherwise, I think most things at both events went off without a hitch, and the things that there were some bumps with are easy fixes. So.
How many people do you think you had on the Main Street?
I was talking to Corporal Bird, and we were estimating between 5,000 and 6,000. This event was unusual compared to our art and wine and chili and beer festivals in that attendees were more transient. So people, for the art and wine festival and chili and beer festival, people typically come at early on in the event and stay for the entire day. For this event, we had a lot of folks coming, checking out the activities, participating, and then leaving and making room for more attendees. So I don't think we ever had a point where we had a concentrated 5,000 or 6,000 people downtown, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw at least that throughout the day.
And it was great seeing all the family and all the little kids and stuff, so it was an excellent family event.
Good job.
And all the businesses I talked to, I think even the bookstore said this was their biggest numbers ever.
Absolutely. I've gotten a number of calls and emails from merchants already saying that they had record sales. I got a call from Elaine this morning, Elaine from the French Twist, saying that she broke her all-time record of crepe sales by over 100 crepes.
Wow.
So, and she was selling waffles on the street at the same time. So it was, that's the other great thing about an event like this is it brings a lot of business downtown, and so we're proud of the event, but we're also proud of the economic impact that it has.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose.
It's did a great job of exposing people from outside of town to the town as well. Because I can't tell you how many people I talked to from Towson and Dundalk and all over the place. So people that had never been here before came out for this event. So did a great job.
I would say trade the ice bar for a heated carpet. Other than that, it was a blast. My feet were freezing. It was a nice
socks and
fest.
shoes on.
Yeah. But anyway.
Well, you should have been out dancing. But
Yeah. I guess that's the point, right? You gotta start
I
moving.
paid much to the heater, so.
There you go.
Got my-
Alright, well, thanks, Stephen.
Good job.
My pleasure.
Good job.
Great job. Yep. So, okay, so.
I apologize, I forgot
Planning
my
Commission.
notes from the
Yes.
planning commission, so
Julia forgot
Dawn
your
helped
notes.
me.
Court.
Yes, it is for planning. We met on February 1st, I believe, and we discussed the distillery and approved, what did we approve?
Can you help her out?
Yeah, so the site plan for the distillery
The site plan.
contingent on it
Right.
being approved by our town engineer. There's some issue with the accessible parking location and the slopes, but there's not a lot of site plan work with this project.
And we had some county updates, and we discussed the Class D liquor license again and the outdoor seating. And our next meeting is March 7th, right here at 7. Anything else?
So the outdoor seating is an ordinance amendment to allow outdoor seating. This is in response to the request by the Mayor and Town Council to look at this issue. The Planning Commission would like to it recommends that the Mayor and Town Council make that amendment, so they want to get that amendment process going for the spring. The only issue, though, is that the language includes bars, pubs, taverns, which are not currently allowed. That's the other ordinance amendment. So I'll have to talk with Dennis about that. And then the Planning Commission wants to have a public hearing or allow people to come to talk about the bars, pubs, taverns, wineries, breweries. Whether I think there's a leaning towards having that be a conditional use and to allow the public the chance to come and talk about that and give their opinion.
Okay.
So is there action that we need to take, I mean, we need to, as a council, come up with the ordinance, or is that gonna be sample language that will be presented to us?
That language will be presented.
Okay. Main Street, or Streetscape, I'm sorry.
We met on January 13th and discussed the Oasis concept design, including some of the crosswalk issues, what to actually make the crosswalk out of, had a lengthy discussion regarding Oklahoma, whether to make that a one-way street or a pedestrian street. The suggestion was that it probably would not fall under the SHA's purview, that it would probably fall to us as a town. But we don't know what's gonna happen until we meet them at the negotiating table. We also discussed what to do with the pocket park, how to handle that whole situation in terms of pervious versus impervious, and how to handle the cost of that, because we didn't know whether that would fall under SHA. We had a lengthy discussion led by Ed Sinkhole regarding what to do with Springfield Avenue in terms of the lane widths and possibly making them 11 feet rather than 10 feet to allow a little more parking on one side and take away parking on the other side, but give people space to travel safely. So there's quite an extensive discussion there. I don't know that we have another meeting set at this point.
No, but we did, I guess, finalize recommendations that we wanted to make to the SHA. Just prior to this meeting, Dawn sent out a proposed letter to State Highway for the task force to review and send comments back to Dawn. As soon as those comments are collected, we'll be making our formal recommendations to the State Highway for a streetscape project. And we don't have any meetings scheduled on the books at this point, do we?
No, there's really nothing to meet about until
Till we hear back from
SHA's.
SHA, yeah.
Okay. So I do want to just give you a heads up to be cognizant of all the details that go into the project of what and what they are not going to cover. I had a meeting with the mayors at the Maryland Mayors Association this week, which was very informative. But New Windsor, they've gotten their cost estimates, and their share is $4.5 million. And they're trying to work out a way to get some money for that, so we'll need to be thinking about that as well. And the way that works typically is when the project's done, you have 30 days to write SHA a check. They're a much smaller town than we are, however, they do have water and sewer infrastructure that could come as part of that, which can be pretty expensive. I think it's just important for us to be mindful of what they're gonna be covering and what they're not gonna be covering, and how quickly those costs can escalate, so, because where are you gonna get that money, like if it's, like if it was even if it was a $3 million bill,
Right.
we gotta be figuring out how we're gonna be able to get money for that.
At this point, what we're trying to do is put everything in writing to SHA, so
Yeah.
there's no verbal agreements, but everything will be in writing. So if we do go back to the
Good idea.
bargaining table, we can say, well, we proposed this and you accepted it in writing, so that's at least be on a stronger footing.
And both of us had a conversation with the delegates about perhaps being able to work out some financing arrangement of where you have at least some time to pay if we end up having to make some sort of deal with them, so they said they would look into that, so.
And don't forget too,
Just thought that was interesting.
we're just planning now too.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says we have to do all these things now. They could be 5 or 10 years down the road that could
Right,
be
yeah,
added to this
the
project.
more we can get them to, stay within our scope, the better, I think, is the goal, so. Okay, thank you so much, good job. Blizzard debrief. So did you wanna touch on that some?
Yeah, so we had a blizzard, and
We had a blizzard, a
the,
lot of snow came.
yes, about 27 and a half inches, I think, for this area, which is a lot of snow. Our crew worked around the clock, Public Works clearing the roads, and the roads were all at least open fairly quickly, which was good. Police were also supportive in helping to monitor the situation. So unless you have any specific questions or concerns about the operations, overall I think we did a very good job, and there are also some things for us to tweak and review and learn from. But I did want to touch base about the communications with the Mayor and Town Council, just keeping you updated on what was going on, if that was about the right amount of communication, if it was useful. This is how, in an emergency or a significant incident, how I would probably try and communicate. So So
I
that's
thought it was adequate and I didn't think it was too much. I think it was, and helpful, so.
And I really appreciate the communication out to the residents, letting them know the
Agreed.
status of the streets and when they could expect the streets to be cleared and why certain things were happening before other things, so.
Yeah.
It definitely takes pressure off of us so they knew as much as we did because they were notified on a timely manner as well.
and that was a good team effort also, and we did receive a lot of positive comments from those communications. People were just appreciative to know, so.
It serves to minimize anxiety when you at least know what to expect and when you can expect it, so,
Yeah.
And what's being done behind the scenes.
absolutely.
Yeah,
For anyone, in any case, so I think it was really, really helpful.
And Chief, thank you for looking up the Howard County, right way to shovel your driveway, and
You're welcome.
that was
And the video.
interesting.
Amazing what you can find on Google.
Exactly.
and the fire
And the
hydrant,
fire hydrant,
video too.
That was the hardest part, digging out the fire hydrant.
Yeah.
A lot of snow to.
That's important too. I mean, I
Yeah.
snow blowed ours out, but I don't think people realize that,
No,
know.
our
That's
fire
critical
hydrant
time.
was under,
If that thing's burning,
was
you
under
gotta
more
dig
snow
that
than
out.
I recall.
Sykesville Fire Department burned it to the ground last time because they couldn't fire their hydrant. I was working that day. That was a miserable experience.
Yeah, so important if your neighbors, if it's in front of their house, to make a note of it.
I think it is a misconception though, that they think the town is responsible for digging those out. So we might wanna put a little
Further
blurb
broadcast.
about that when we
Right.
Good
have
idea.
other snow.
Well, I mean, the news flashes did go out
I
with
know.
that information, but yeah, probably in the newsletter as well.
Well, we
Yeah.
worked hard, so I wanted to thank Dawn for that too, because we did work hard to try to communicate. That's one of the things we wanted to do, is let you guys know what was going on, so I thought it was like I said, the best communication we've done as a group. We tried, so, thank you for that, because I do think it went well.
What is the status of the trucks?
Well, so first of all, I was in the shop, and I just want to say that we have 4 trucks with plows, and 3 of the plows are about like from the table up to here, and 1 of the plows is like from the table up to
Right.
here. So when people thought we only had 1 plow, in reality we have 4, but they're just not all geared for 30 inches
Right.
of snow. And all of our trucks are back in operation at this point. Big Red, which was the biggest truck, did have to take a little bit of recuperation time in the shop after the event, but is back in action now.
And that's something I think we all met again for a debrief, which again, I thought was very informative. Everybody getting together, what went right, what went wrong. I think some more stuff was learned from that, so that was a good exercise. But we may be looking at something down the road as far as equipment, of like, what other equipment do we consider for storms of this magnitude?
Right, I mean, maybe trying to get a plow on one of the trash trucks or something.
Well, or, yeah, something, anything along those lines. A big snow blower, front end loader, a rubber tire loader on, having it available for the storm, owning one. These are kind of things that we, as part of that, I think we'll learn, but it was good.
How are we with salt?
Good, no issues with salt this year.
That
which
was
is
good. They didn't use a
good
lot
thing.
of salt, so that was one blessing out of
Yeah.
that big storm.
Well, that and it melted quite quickly.
Yeah.
We had really high temperatures that things melted a lot faster than in years past.
So a few other items. One thing that we did as part of this is that we hired a contractor to help us clear the parking lots. And so I think that merchants were pretty positive about the clearing effort. And we also cleared the snow off Main Street, which is really state highway, but the town did that at its own expense. So that's a good thing. I just hope that merchants understand it was because it was a blizzard, not that we do that for every snow event. And then because we've met certain criteria, the state is pursuing reimbursement from the Federal Emergency Management Association. But there's a whole process to that, and it may be that there's only a 48-hour window that we can be reimbursed for our snow removal costs. And this obviously took more time than that, so some of the costs the town will likely have to absorb, but hopefully we will get some reimbursement. that's just early in the process right now. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was our policy around closing the town offices. And just a little history, when I came, I don't think that the town offices really closed. That whoever could get here, got here, and if you couldn't get here, you could take leave, but you just used your own judgment. And then because we have more and more employees that live further away, it seemed like that wasn't, because the reason why the town offices didn't close, because we do such a good job clearing our roads that people who live in town could usually get here. But if people are coming from a distance, conditions might be more hazardous, so we decided to follow the county's lead in terms of if they close, we close, and that was primarily for ease of notification for employees. So, but in terms of closing down business or not having town meetings, I guess that's a whole separate conversation. If the roads are clear and there's no bad weather predicted here in town, then it's not necessary. I guess it's a question of whether it might still be possible to hold meetings because we would expect people from town to come, not people from far away. So there was a little bit of, in this case, it seemed like at the last meeting, the weather predictions weren't that great for that evening. So I just wanted everybody to be aware of where that is coming from.
It took some residents all the way up until Monday to shovel just their portion. I mean, they could get out to the road if they shoveled out, but it's just a matter of their lack of ability to shovel what they owned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was the concern, is can people make it to the meeting? Was it a reasonable expectation for people to, so that's why we decided not to have the meeting, because it might not have been.
Right.
Well, plus you gotta be careful about the melt during the day and then stuff freezing at night, and at least for us, potentially driving home at 10 o'clock at night,
Right.
10, 11 o'clock, whatever.
Yeah, that's good, now we're shooting for 10. It's gonna be my new goal here, so.
Well, if I'd showed up, I was leaving by 10.
Okay. Anything else on that topic, or is that about cover it? So
Covers it.
We're learning on that as well, and I think it went overall pretty good for that. So if we can, we'll follow that template probably with some tweaks and.
So is that the policy now, is if Carroll County government's closed, then the town of Sykesville offices are closed?
Well, that is the policy for employees, yes.
Right.
But
Okay.
whether or not, like, again, I think we could take meetings on a case-by-case basis, because it could be that things are fine by the time the meeting comes around.
But I just wanted to, just understand that is the policy, which I have no problem with, I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
going forward, good.
Well, or at least, yeah, I mean, there's nothing, that's the what I've been following.
That's good.
Okay. Okay, announcements. So the Marion Town Council Retreat is scheduled for February 27th. I'm assuming right here at the town hall, so public is welcome to attend that as well. And what time are we doing that again? What time is that gonna start?
From way early in the
6
morning
a.m.
to way late at night.
Yeah.
66.
So it'll probably be something, we'll send more details, but I think roughly 9 to 5, if you figure lunchtime in there, that'll give about 6 to 7 hours
It's the same day as
work time.
Fish and Flea Market, man, that was a bad scheduling deal, so anyway. Okay, all right, first item of business, the cable franchise agreement. All right, so we're gonna open up discussion on this. We had discussed it at the last meeting. I think we had some questions answered. The CMC was here, the Community Media Center, to do a presentation, if you all recall. I have talked to the other municipalities. Some are still waiting to make a decision. Some have decided. The county has approved the agreement, and they are waiting to hear from the municipalities. My recommendation at this point was going to be to go ahead and approve this. However, that decision does need to be unanimous amongst the municipalities. Now, so there is a movement from Mount Airy, I believe, to delay approving of this to support a 30-day delay. Now, my understanding is, and you can correct me, Mike, is Comcast needs to know by April 1st? Was that the goal? They were trying to approve this in this month, right? I think in February, but they were saying maybe March or.
Yeah, it was April 1st, I believe.
Yeah, so April 1st. So I don't know that would affect anything at any rate. Again, so I did get a letter today from Marion Ware. She did send me an email informing me about the delay that Mount Airy had approved. And that was to encourage the commissioners and the CRC to act on a couple of items. And I shared a copy of that with you guys just in case you were interested. So again, it's I don't know that us we can approve it and support their 30 days if you'd like to get it off of our agenda, or we can wait and find out what the other towns are going to do. So Neil, I did speak with him from New Windsor. He's also on the Carroll County Regulatory Commission, and he's recommended approving this as well based on all the information he has. So that's kind of where we are. Is there any questions does anybody have any additional questions that they want to ask? Maybe Mike? Mike is our Carroll County Regulatory Commission board member.
Are you talking about approving a delay or approving?
Well, I would say approving the
agreement.
The agreement at this point, because.
Well, basically, the motion would be to tell our representative,
Yes.
Mike Kasnian, to vote
Right.
affirmatively for it.
Yes.
Well, let me give you a little bit of background on that. We had the media center folks come here, do a little bit of a presentation to us on what they wanted. Before they left, they were supposed to then at some point get us some written comments back on the areas that they had a concern on. We've not received any comments from them. I've talked to the other municipalities. Nobody has received any comments directly from them. So in my mind, if they've not brought up anything with all this time they've had to look at it, it seems to me like it would be a dead issue, because they've had now, well over a month to make comments and at least identify an area of concern that they'd had, and they haven't done that yet. So since none of the other municipalities have gotten comments back with them, I'm guessing that there's no big issues on the table.
Well, I think they've sent me a couple today, which I mean it's kind of the last minute for us, but I think they're concerned at this point. They want a little time to see if they can amend the IGA, the intergovernmental agreement, to ensure CMC receives the draft PEG grant money, subscriber fees. So what that is the county gets the money, right? And then they have an agreement with the community media center. So I just guess they want to ensure that that money will pass through. And then develop a written plan to provide the Carroll County private network links. Is that what the CCPN is?
Yeah, it is. Actually, that IGA is not part of the agreement that they were here discussing. That's a whole different issue.
Okay. Well, that's what her email had said. And then to allow the CRC will allow an ex officio member of the CMC board to attend the meeting to foster coordinated efforts in the future.
Yeah, a little bit of background on that. In the past, and up until now, all of the extra money from that we get from Comcast has been going to the CMC. The CMC is one of the providers of information to county residents, and that was their initial reason for growing and getting the money. We've identified a number of other groups that are also information providers. In fact, there's other cable companies in the county, like Quantum and several others, that also provide information and would be eligible for money the same way that the CMC is, and we've never even discussed that with them. And we felt that one of the things that the Cable Commission should be doing is trying to promote competition. If there's other companies out there, we should let people know who they are and what they provide. And we've not really been good at doing that. So there are a lot of other places this money could be going, and the idea of having a ex officio members was to discuss these sort of things. But in my view, we need to bring more people on board as ex officio members that have a hand in this process. So that's something that we would be looking at for the future. And quite frankly, town of Sykesville is an information provider to the county residents also, and as are all of the other municipalities. The meetings that we have that are broadcast is part of the information that's going out. So there's a lot of people that could have a hand in it and could have a reason for getting some of the funds that come through Comcast. So that's part of where we're going. That's what that IGA discussion was that Marianne Ware had sent you.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
From the sounds of this, Mount Airy has already approved the delay, so the only unanimous decision would be if we supported the delay. If we say we want to approve it, it's not going to matter, right?
Well, correct. That's my point. We could
The
approve it and
commissioners
then
have
we could
already
wait on
approved it, so-
Right.
Mount Airy to decide what they wanted to do, and then it would move forward based on, that. Right, because it has to be unanimous from all the municipalities as well as the county. So the county's already approved it, now all the municipalities have to. So that's my point is, if they've already agreed to do it, that will maybe render some time, which is really okay as far as getting it approved in April. Still, they would still be on schedule to get it done in April. They just wanted the CMC to have time to ask their questions and perhaps get answers. So,
So that's why I understand you're recommending at this point.
yeah,
Because the delay has already been implemented by virtue of one of the parties
yes,
not wanting to approve it immediately.
right, and
So
that
why
way,
should, exactly.
yes, make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So, does anybody want to make a motion to authorize Mike to vote in favor of approving the agreement?
I'll make a motion that we authorize our Cable Regulatory Commission member, Mike Kazniak, to approve the, what is it called?
To
The,
vote yes.
vote yes on the
Cable franchise.
cable franchise agreement.
I'll second that motion.
Another question.
Oh, sorry.
Dennis,
There has been some confusion with regard to the process. And for clarity, I think it's important to note that the Cable Regulatory Commission does not have the authority to bind the town, nor Mike has the authority. What it is an expression, in essence, of the intention to ask the jurisdictions to approve it. The process would have been better to make a recommendation from the CRC to the various jurisdictions to approve, because the signatories to the franchise agreement are each of the municipalities and the county. So while Mike's vote will have some bearing in terms of their internal process, I think if you're
excuse me.
approving the franchise agreement.
Can you
then
speak at the podium?
Dennis, yeah, he can't hear you.
If you're approving the franchise agreement on behalf of the town tonight, then you need to authorize the mayor to sign the franchise agreement when it is submitted in its final form. That's the point. Mike, the authorization to Mike will allow him to conduct his business on behalf of the town with the CRC, but at the ultimate end, the franchise agreement will be submitted to each jurisdiction for signature by the appropriate authority.
So I'd like to amend my motion to not only authorize Mike to say yes on behalf of the town, but also authorize the mayor to sign the agreement once it comes back to the town.
And now I'll second that amended motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
Thank you, Dennis.
Okay, thanks for the clarification as well, appreciate that. Okay, next item is the introduction of the ordinance number 294, maintenance of roadside vegetation and trees. At the last meeting on January 11th, I introduced the ordinance and asked the town attorney to make some revisions, and that document was revised, and I think Julia had some comments as well as Chris, so we got those added to the current ordinance. Yes. So we would like to introduce that. This isn't the current one, is it?
Thank you.
Do you have a
What
copy?
was in the package that was distributed by the email is the correct one, is whatever's out on the table right there is the old one.
Right, I was just looking at this, still had the
I
two
picked
parts
up
in
a
it.
copy tonight when I came in.
Okay. So we need to make sure you have the correct one.
If there's a red line one in.
No, but I picked the one up that was outside on the table, and I'm still looking at it, and still the multiple parts to it that were combined into one.
Well, this
I was French.
This is the right one.
doesn't have multiple
Right?
parts. Oh, well, it's the one in my hand, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's the vegetation and maintenance of trees and stuff, and that was,
So, I don't think anybody's here from the public wants to add to this, or any comments on this. Therefore, should we continue this to one more meeting and then approve it?
well, we need to,
Introduce the
introduce it
revised ordinance.
for a public hearing for next,
Right, so that's what I was saying, so introduce the revised ordinance for a public hearing at the next.
So this is the one that's being introduced,
Yes.
Correct.
rather than the revised, this is the one.
Right,
We're introducing this,
So this one,
That is the revised one.
well, but
but we never introduced
we
anything
didn't
yet.
introduce the other one,
Oh, I
right?
see what you're
The
saying.
final, this is the
Yeah.
final version.
Final version.
This is what's
There
being
you go.
introduced.
Got it.
the one that was
Correct.
emailed to us, and then,
Yes, okay, so we'll go ahead and, do we have a motion to introduce ordinance number
Wait,
294?
I don't think we need a motion, correct?
We don't?
Recommend
No, we
it,
don't.
recommend it to go to public hearing in the next meeting.
Great.
The
It
two.
was 22nd.
Okay, well then the public hearing is, and will be voted on at the next mayor and town council, barring some public concern that delays it. Okay? That's good? Alright. Alright, our next item of business is the fundraising event on town property. An event to maintain consistent policy for fundraising activities in our town. The mayor and town council is being asked to approve fundraising in town parking lots. The American Cancer Society would like to host its Relay for Life event in the McElroy parking lot in June. And currently the town prohibits for-profit activities in town parks. So,
And to further define that, the for-profit activity in town parks shall be prohibited except when a reservation permit is obtained from the town, or two, for uses in connection with the town-sponsored event. All other appropriate licenses pursuant to the town code or other applicable law must be obtained in conjunction with any uses falling within the foregoing exceptions to such prohibition. That's a mouthful.
okay. Thank you for that.
Sure.
I sort of was thinking about this, and I think I prefer it to still come to the town council. Make sure that, the town manager vets it and approves it, but it still comes to the council for the final approval on these, would be my preference. Just to make sure that we are aware of it, because maybe some things that are going on that we could add to whatever the event is, and I think it just would be nice to be in the loop on those.
I agree with Chris. So just for clarification, I believed that that's actually what we were speaking about tonight, was just approving this particular
No,
event, or is this a general
this is a general
change
to
that's
allow
being
the town manager
requested?
to approve these without coming to the
I
council.
read it.
You have to read the motion.
So yeah, the recommended action was to make a motion to approve the use of the parking lot when a special event permit is obtained.
And don't we have a say over that?
No.
No.
We have we don't really have we have a special event form that people fill out. It gets circulated to the police department, public
Mhm.
works, town manager.
Okay.
But if it's on town property, so that you have to close a parking lot or something, it doesn't come.
Well, this is the first, I don't know how many events, if people can think of other events, mostly when we've done this, it's been a town.
Town-related.
Right, so that's why this
I mean,
is,
the other events are cyclocross over at Warfield where we've closed off part of the street, I think, for that event, and that's come to the council for approval.
well, it's come to the council for approval for the beer garden.
The first time it came for us to, I think, approve to have it.
And it's fine to have
Right.
things come here, I mean, that's fine.
Right. I
It's
mean,
just that we're creating a process right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, exactly, so I guess creating a process for it, so you'd like it to be approved by the mayor and town, when the permit is approved, obtained, and then approved by the mayor and town manager and mayor and town council?
After
Is that how
the,
you would do that?
yeah, I think the staff, after they've vetted it and approved it, and make sure everything's good, then they bring it to us and for,
Finalize it.
Right.
That being said, this particular event, is it in position now for us to discuss and approve it, or is that later down the road?
I haven't seen any
Yeah.
permit or any detail.
Okay.
I mean, I know
So
there's
then
been
that's where we're at with
conversations.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe this is a stupid question, but isn't the American Cancer Society a nonprofit?
Right, so the
Yeah.
use of a profit and comparing it to our, we only have a policy related to for-profit.
Right.
So, but this is still another outside agency coming in and using our property for fundraising of
Okay.
some sort.
and in fact, we'd be
So we still
closing down a
for
public
profit.
parking lot or a
Right.
public space for.
Okay, I understand that part, I just
Right.
wanted to be clear that, okay.
Right, and I don't have any issues with the event taking place, I just would
Okay.
still like
Yeah.
the council be involved in that process.
Okay.
Very good.
So this looks like this event that is coming up is not until June. But
Well, we
that's,
could go ahead and make the motion now to, as we discussed, just adding it, so basically it would say, make a motion to approve the use of the parking lot when a special event permit is obtained and approved by the mayor and town manager and with mayor and town council approval. Does that sound about right?
that doesn't, we don't need a special motion for that though.
Well, we would need to
We do
make
for-
it that way.
It would be good to have
Yeah.
a
Process.
process that you've all
Process.
agreed upon.
Yeah.
I agree with that, I don't know if anyone.
Okay.
Does it solely relate to the town parking lots, or
No, it says,
I guess town
Town
property.
property.
is,
Yeah.
But I think there are issues when
Oh, yeah.
This
somebody
does
just
say
wants to use
parking.
one of the parks, and I don't think that needs to come
no.
No.
for us. When it's something that involves closing down a parking lot, using town resources, I think we have to address it.
Right.
For fundraising purposes, whether or not it be for-profit or not-for-profit,
Well, you can't do for-profit on the parks, so it would,
without a special permit.
well, no, not at all.
I think
Right.
they read no.
I mean, well, the way it says now, right, it says, please note that the town code prohibits for-profit activities in town parks.
Unless. Didn't do
So,
unless.
yeah, so a nonprofit could do something in the park, but nobody can do profit. So
Well,
remember, right?
But there's that section that Stacy read, which I think it's, I don't know if you can check, it's from the code, I'm thinking.
It says, it's not for-profit activity in town parks shall be prohibited except, as Anna was saying, when a reservation permit is obtained from the town, or for use in connection with the town-sponsored event.
Okay. So you have to come to the town and get approval for that,
Mhm.
for-profit activities.
For-profit, yeah.
Okay.
And what started this, if everybody doesn't remember, was the fact that there was a
Walking
mom
group,
stroller
yeah.
group that was trying to charge people to attend their walking group
Yeah.
in the park. And we didn't want them profiting by using our town park.
I see.
So there may be occasion where we would, or Dawn would approve a for-profit activity in the park, but it would have to get that reservation permit from the town.
Right. They couldn't do it without the permit.
Right.
Okay. So are we gonna make a
So
motion?
how are we gonna word this?
Yeah, yeah.
What's more, we're defining a policy.
Well, yes, and this one said for parking lot, so since it does seem we have some sort of guidelines for park.
I think the policy should state, you know, parking lot or public road or public parking lot. When a request comes up to close a public roadway or a public parking lot for whether it's a profit or nonprofit use, that after it's vetted by the town staff, that it be approved by the mayor and town council.
Now, would you say public or town-owned property?
I don't think we need to approve something going on in the park. You know, because you can go in right now and reserve a park and in effect have that be just for your own use. You know, we have the permit process in place for that. But I think when you're talking about closing down a street or closing out parking spaces in a parking lot, that is a little bit different situation, should come to us for approval.
Just to clarify, this is what you're trying to rectify, is just a parking lot, correct? I mean, we're not trying, parking lot or roadway, public roadway, right?
Yeah, I mean,
You're-
there's not,
you're
we
clear
have
on the
no,
other stuff.
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
unless somebody can think of some other.
Right.
Well, is this, let me ask this, is this gonna require town resources? In other words, you know, trash collection, police?
I guess it depends.
So I think that should somehow.
Well, I think that's why it has to go through
Okay.
the town staff. I mean, they still have to vet, they still have a form that has to be filled out and
Okay.
circulated amongst all the departments.
Okay.
It's the same thing as anything else, too. If you went in there on a Sunday morning and you have a conflict with the church, or a Saturday, there's a wedding, I mean, there's all kinds of things to consider
Right.
before you schedule an
On a
event.
case by case, yeah.
Mhm. And that's what I was thinking too, if this is a Saturday, everything's gotta be cleared for church Sunday morning. So there's implications there. Anyway.
Okay. So in that vein, do we want to introduce a motion for this?
All right, I make a motion that we have a policy for the usage of public roads and public parking lots in town that, what terminology am I trying to come up with that? I said before, and I can't.
Well, I think the way we should is maybe just use the wording that we had here, to approve the use of public roadways or parking lots when a special event permit is obtained and approved by the town manager with mayor and town council approval.
Sure.
Would pretty much capture, right?
Yep,
Okay.
what you said.
You have that?
No.
So it's as it's written, except we're adding,
Yeah, public
We're adding-
roadways
we're adding public right-of-ways or roads
and then
to the
parking.
parking lot part.
And then at the end, put with mayor and town council approval.
Or recommended by the town manager with mayor and town council approval.
Correct, yeah, that sounds
Right,
good.
because the special event permit is obtained, so that's already happened. That's kind of includes the town manager part of it, so.
Okay.
So I'll second that motion. Are you good
All
with
those in
that?
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Great, thank you.
All right, so now that the policy is set, it was, would you like to hear a little bit from Stephen? I don't know if you could speak a little bit about this event, because there have been some talk about it, and it seems like the earlier that we get some information, the better.
Sure. Yeah.
Even though it's still to be vetted internally.
I'll start by saying that this is not an event being planned by myself or the Main Street Association, so if I'm incorrect on any of the details, I apologize. The American Cancer Society's representative for Carroll County, Leanne McFadden, approached me probably 3 or 4 months ago with some interest in bringing their annual South Carroll Relay for Life from Liberty High School to downtown Sykesville. For a couple of reasons, one of which was that the event at Liberty High School has been going on for some time and has been flagging in terms of energy and enthusiasm, and also because the American Cancer Society is interested in engaging more of the community, whereas to some extent that event is participation for that event seems to be confined to the school and otherwise already invested volunteers. So I've met with them a few times and touched base with Dawn and Ian at various points in terms of just determining whether it was logistically feasible for them to do their relay in downtown Sykesville. And the answer that we landed on is that yes, it is feasible with minimal town resources, and that we may actually see some beneficial impact from having that event downtown, from forming that partnership with the American Cancer Society for both this event and in the future. Our merchant community is very active. In addition to everything that I ask of them, they're very active within other nonprofit communities. And for example, in October, they do a completely self-motivated campaign to donate money for breast cancer awareness and research. So I think that, you know, in that regard, it's in line with a lot of the motives and ideologies that already exist within the community. And so I think it's a fairly natural partnership that could grow to benefit both groups significantly, while requiring minimal resources from the town.
So date, time?
Sure. So I believe that the date is Saturday, June 4th, and the proposal is to use the Mac lot. Currently, they're waiting for their registration to really take off before they make a decision on whether they're going to be requesting just the back half of the Mac lot or all of it. And their proposal is to operate the event from 4 in the afternoon until 12:30. They are very sensitive to the needs of the church. In fact, they have already communicated with the pastor and I believe the board of trustees about utilizing the church for their survivor dinner and as a I guess a respite area for some of their survivors that are participating in the event to kind of take a load off and relax as needed. So, you know, I know Julia brought up concern about service the next day, but the church is very aware and very interested in partnering with them as well.
So this is in the evening and not in the morning?
Correct.
Setup presumably would begin in the morning. I think the volunteers would probably want to be here between 8 and 9 to start setting up, but the actual event itself would be from noon to, or I'm sorry, from 4 to 12:30. Previously, the event has run from late afternoon, early evening until dawn the next day. But they decided to eliminate the overnight portion.
Stephen, for those who aren't aware, what activities will they be doing?
Well, so most of what they will be doing is walking. For anyone who's not familiar with Relay for Life, the vast majority of the time by the groups that sign up is intended to be spent walking. In basically in a circle. They use the track at Liberty High School for those purposes. They do typically offer music and vendors and some entertainment along the way to keep people motivated and engaged and excited. They do specialty laps and in the evening they do a luminaria ceremony to honor people who have lost their battle with cancer. So all in all, it's a really touching and memorable event that I think also represents something good that could be brought into the town as well. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and they are, obviously, they've worked with Liberty High School for a number of years, so they are cognizant of noise ordinances and everything else. So obviously that would, they would be respectful and just as courteous here as they are at Liberty High School, if not more.
Yeah, because we have a lot of apartments that
Mhm.
overlook that parking lot, so.
Right.
Where would parking take place if we're gonna utilize one of our bigger parking lots?
Well, we do still have a significant amount of parking. The Mac lot certainly isn't anything to scoff at in terms of the proportion of our parking that it represents. But in terms of numbers, it represents about a third of our parking. So that does still leave us at 2/3 capacity, and I think with the partnership with the church, that they would find that some of the parking needs could be mitigated that way, since the church parking lots would not be in use at that point. And then for their attendees, I believe they anticipate operating a shuttle service from Sykesville Middle School. So.
That's my understanding as well. As someone who attended last year, I volunteered in their medical tent and spent the evening there. It is an outstanding event. They really do a good job. I can't speak enough as someone who's lost family members to cancer to the depth of the luminaria ceremony, and whoever can be there, I highly recommend it. They do a great job. They really run a tight ship. There are not a whole lot of vendors there when they were at Liberty. A lot of the stuff is created by the people who volunteer their time, and then the money that they make, they donate back to Relay. So a lot of it is kept in-house. There's not at least at Liberty, there was not a whole lot of coming from outside, but they are sensitive to the public works cost and the police staff cost and the possible need for a shuttle. They're well aware of it. I've spoken with Leanne on several occasions and some of the other co-chairs and stuff that they have. So I think it'll be great, outstanding for downtown.
And they have expressed, an interest in partnering with our downtown merchants and keeping their vendor situation hyper-local to continue to support the community in as many different ways as possible.
It forms some nice synergy between the two.
How many attendees were there last year, or
They
participants?
said they had about 300.
Yeah, it was around 300 or 400, yeah.
With the hopes of increasing that this year at the new location.
They're hoping that a new environment will bring more people to it.
So it'll be 5,500.
So we need 3 buses.
One for you, Jennifer.
We should have warned them up front about the
It'll be marching instead of walking.
I assume the restaurants are been notified or?
Again, we're early,
Well,
we're,
not yet.
this is
Yeah.
just to give you.
Additional information.
Yeah,
right.
what information we have, it's not asking for approval tonight.
Okay. Well, thanks, Stephen.
Yep.
That was very helpful. Okay. All right, next item, Chief, is the deputizing, County Sheriff deputizing of town Sykesville police officers. And
Yeah.
Chief's gonna introduce this.
Here are the originals.
It is a memorandum of understanding.
Yes, good evening again.
Good evening.
You may recall I have mentioned this to you in the past. It's, from my perspective, a win-win for the town and for our police department. This MOU with the sheriff's office, which would provide, in my mind, an added layer of protection to our officers under certain circumstances. I don't know if you've had a chance to review the MOU, but I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but just highlight the important parts. which are that, courts and judicial proceedings, Article 2309, authorizes the sheriff of Carroll County to appoint special deputy sheriffs under special limited circumstances. And those circumstances can be found in basically number 6, which is when one of our officers is on duty, and that's, I think, the important part, while on official duty, and observes or is informed of any crime in progress, or that an emergency exists outside of our jurisdiction, it would give our officer authorization to act as a special deputy sheriff outside of our town. And goes on to describe, further define crime as a life-threatening or incarcerable offense, as well as an emergency, which is any unruly person or group which demonstrates the potential for violence, life-threatening situation demanding an immediate police response, any incarcerable traffic offense, and also any man-made or natural disaster. So again, I think this is a win-win for us, the town and the department. And as I said before, I don't foresee it to encourage our officers to act outside the town. We still have our own internal policy which dictates when they should act outside of town. But this is, again, an added layer of protection. If they were to act outside of town, to and from work or going to court, or for whatever reason they're on duty, a drunk driver passes them, or they see a drunk driver, they would have the authority to take action in that case. Whereas now, really have no authority to take any action other than to maybe stop the person, call for the sheriff or the state police to come and take enforcement action. And I would even suggest that even stopping someone under the current circumstances is you're on tenable ground there, in terms of our authority. So I think it's a win-win for the town and the department, and would wholeheartedly recommend that you approve it.
So maybe you just answered it, but the definition of while on official duty, like you mentioned, on their way to or from work, so that is under the definition.
That would be part of it, but anytime they were on duty, whether it's, they would come to and from work,
Okay.
or they're actually here and then they have to leave town for a specific reason, court, or go to the hospital, for whatever reason, but it wouldn't apply if they were, say, off duty. They wouldn't have their car then in that circumstance anyhow. So it would only be on duty that it would cover them.
So right now, when they get a call to assist an outside agency, and they go, let's say it's a domestic violence up in Eldersburg or something, they go up to that, and they're the only ones on responding. Do they have authority at that point?
No.
Okay.
We have mutual aid, which is when the sheriff or chief of another jurisdiction requests our assistance to come and participate. But in those circumstances, we're kind of responding as assistance, providing assistance to another agency. We wouldn't have the authority to take legal action outside our town.
Right. Okay. So we'd have
Basically, they've been called, right, there's a difference, right?
We've been called, but we still have to wait for the other agency to come and make the arrest.
Our immediate response is to ensure, life,
safety.
sure, life and is nobody's. That too, yeah.
So if I'm reading the MOU right, if in the past when they've been running radar on 32 outside of town, we actually should not have been doing that. Is that fair to say?
I'm not aware of us running radar outside of town. We should not be doing that. Our authority, again, as it stands right now, is only within the incorporated limits of the town.
I think it was before your time.
Good.
But we participated in the task force outside.
Sure, there's exceptions.
Right.
Absolutely. There's certainly exceptions to the mutual aid. And again, this is just, and if it makes you feel any better, all of the other municipal chiefs are in full agreement. This is a good thing, and they're all either have already done so or are planning to sign, get their town councils to sign as well. So there's pretty much a consensus among all the municipal chiefs that this is a good thing for us to have. Again, I don't think it'll change the day-to-day operations of our department, but in the event one of our officers witnessed, again, a life and death emergency, or they would have the authority to take action if they so chose to.
Okay. And Dennis, is there any issue that you've seen?
I've reviewed my comments, they made the revisions that we requested. So what you're seeing is the final product. There's one or two things I would have done that they didn't do, but it doesn't affect significantly, so.
And then, so Chief, we'd still compensate for legal time and stuff like that? Would that still fall to the town, like for court and
Yes.
just like it does now? Okay.
This is not financial. This is to give authority.
Right.
What, I think the issue is though, if they have authority and they're involved in an arrest that's outside of town and have to appear in court, the
Yeah.
town still would cover the cost of those.
Yes.
Because it's our arrest.
Sure.
Okay.
Again, I don't see that
Can
happening.
we submit a bill to the sheriff?
Sorry? We can try that.
As their deputy?
And then they would submit a bill for all the stuff they do in town,
Well,
probably.
you know, it works both ways. You know,
Yeah.
they can help us and we can help them.
Okay.
You know, and so I like to think of it as
It's a good thing.
a good agreement, a mutual.
All right, are we all set? Then I'll make
Okay,
a motion
yep.
if there's no
Let's
more
go. Yep.
need for conversation. I'd like to make a motion to authorize Mayor Shaw to sign the agreement once reviewed and approved by the town attorney and town manager to deputize our town police officers.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Great.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Draft Capital Improvement Plan, the CIP for fiscal year 2017 through 2021. Dawn, are you gonna present that? Or you should have gotten a copy of that.
Yes, and it's actually not a draft plan of anything, it's just a list of all the requests that we've got.
Okay.
So I'll just, I don't really want to go through it item by item, but I wanted to point out a few things. And then what I'm going to do is send it out for you all to rank your top priorities, or basically I'll give you a certain amount of money to spend. And then you can decide where you would spend it. Again, capital items are for the most part items over $5,000 that have a lengthy lifespan. So there is the section about roads. I'm going to ask you to ignore that for now. We're not ready to discuss that or for you to prioritize those. Public Works, replacement trucks, Parks and Rec. We did this year have Mark go around and look at the facilities, which we haven't done before, so there are some things on here that, so that we're thinking about all of our capital needs. I guess the only thing that's a little weird that I want to point out is actually towards the end. On the second to last page, there's a category for items that are not over $5,000, and we probably would look at them more as part of the operating budget. So, and some of those things may need to be discussed more fully, but things like pistol replacement, law enforcement policy manual, bulletproof vest carrier, all those things, they're on this list, but we're probably going to deal with them as part of the operating. And then at the very end, there's also a list of possible grant-funded projects, which again are things if we get grants or Eagle Scout projects or whatever that we're not expecting to fund those out of our capital program. So I was looking, I think last year we spent approximately $330,000 on capital, which included about $170,000 for paving. So what I'm figuring is you'll have about $125,000 to $175,000 to spend on FY17 items. I'll give you that to prioritize on this list. And I'd like
Each of us have that.
Based on using the same 330 is what you're saying, and with approximate 170 in paving, the same estimates from last year.
So if we take paving off the
Right.
table for you to prioritize, then you'd have about 125 to 175 to use to prioritize your items. And basically, well, you'll get instructions. And
So do you still want this back by the 15th?
yeah, it was the 1st, and now it's the 15th.
So when are you gonna have these instructions?
I'm gonna try for tomorrow.
Okay.
Dawn, clarify one thing, being that I'm on the Parks and Rec, I need a little bit of clarification. The trail, the pathway to Carroll, I just had it.
Carroll Fields.
Carroll Fields, yes, what is that?
That is a request, oh, wait a minute, is that under Parks and Rec or is that under Main Street?
That's at
That's
the,
under the grant funded.
right, possible grant funds.
Okay, so that again is not for prioritizing now, it's just on this list because it's come up and
In case we were able to get some money,
Okay.
maybe identifying a grant opportunity potentially for something like that.
sometime down the road, but there has been talk over time about having a pathway connection so that people from the other part of town have a way to walk downtown that's
When you
safe.
say Carroll Fields? what
That's
sort
Second Avenue,
Oh, yeah,
Shimmering.
of- Shimmering Run,
Right.
yeah,
My
okay.
house, right. That would be a great connection if we could ever pull it off.
Okay.
'Cause it brings people right out of the middle of town.
Oh, I
and
love
there's
that,
down
yeah.
there.
We'd rather keep them.
We're gonna eminent domain,
But keep
Al's
something
house.
coming down
Take
over.
that.
It'll start there, it'll be the Al Grassley Trail.
He almost took it over, he tried to get it.
Yeah.
Should have sold that.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions on the CIP, Ken? Okay, so good, so work on the list and go through and maybe identify what priorities are, and Dawn will send out some instructions, right?
Correct.
Okay. Great, okay, so our next item is the National Pollution Discharge Environmental System, the NPDES. As part of the permit, the county is requesting a second position. It is jointly funded by the towns and the county. And then there are some different tasks that this person would be. As you're all aware, we did partner with the county with our stormwater management on their permit now as one. So they are requesting that this additional person to work, since there's additional work that's required for the county on the town's behalf. So they would like to get a additional staff person, and they would like the towns to share in the cost of that. So they would assist us with the joint permit, the current stormwater, what's it, the SWPPP?
SWIP, I just,
SWIP?
but it's more if you have, like, your public works shop has storm drains, or we do mechanical work and do oil changes and drains that could go, but we don't have that, so we're actually exempt from that.
Okay, but they may work with some of the other municipalities in that regard. And then additional field work that's required, outfall inspection, logging and testing, training of the county municipal employees, and public education. So the county will, well, the amount for the town of Sykesville is what, $3,592, is that correct?
Yes.
And that'll be subtracted from our town-county agreement payment each year.
And how much is that?
It's around, what, 265, it's a formula, but around 265,000 a year, something like that.
So we would be
Okay.
paying the same thing, but two separate ways.
We'd be paying more. We'd
So
be,
it would be an addition, not subtracted.
Well, no,
well, it's subtracted from money we get in, which means it's,
right.
so it's less revenue.
Okay.
So the town county is their reimbursement that they give to us, so when they give us our check, they will subtract this money from that check to cover this portion of the position.
Right, and they're already subtracting about, well, let's see, a little bit more than that, about 4,000 for the first position. So this would be an additional about 3,600 for the second position that we'd be.
Now, does this change or anything, like, is this part of the 5-year? Remember that thing was only for 5 years?
Yeah, so I mean, once the position is hired, I'm assuming they're not gonna,
Yeah.
so it would be an ongoing.
Well, so it'll be something that'll probably go on, we'll have to, when the new agreement comes out.
But the chances of us doing a different kind of agreement and us accepting 100% responsibility for the costs of our stormwater is slim, because that would be a lot of money we'd have to be responsible for.
Okay, any questions further on this? Does anybody have any questions?
And if we were to say no?
Yeah, so what would happen if we said no? They would say, do it yourself then?
Well, I think that, so the county department is making a request to the Board of Commissioners, and they would like to have letters of support from the municipalities. They just would not have a letter of support from the town of Sykesville.
So this is still, even if we said yes and all the other municipalities said yes, it still couldn't happen if the county commissioners decided they didn't want to fund the position.
Correct.
Because they'd be paying probably the lion's share of it anyway.
Well, they're paying us
What, yeah,
The same amount?
23,000?
about $23,000 for fringe benefits.
Right.
But then also all the operating expenses, so an office, computer, all of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so you're right, you could say yes and the county could still say no.
And I think they're trying to make it a little more palatable to the county by having the municipal buy-in.
Point of information, Mayor, is this basically, is this the rain tax issue or is it something different?
Well, it sort of is the genesis of that, right?
Stormwater?
So,
I thought that was going away. Do you think
Well,
it's still around?
the fee is going away, but the stormwater requirements aren't really going away. So the mandated fee is going sort of, well, there's talk of it going away, but the requirements for stormwater management are still in place. So this is part of how that came about.
Right, Carroll County doesn't have a rain tax.
Right.
It pays for, but it's already paying for these
Right,
projects.
I know they already have them in the budget, correct?
Right. I mean, when they
And they already had one person designated to help out the towns, and now they're saying they want a second person?
Well, basically, they had, so we had two different kinds of permits. The county had its own permit, and then all the towns had a very general permit.
Right.
Now we have, the county and the towns are all under one permit, meaning that the towns all have more extensive requirements than we used to have. So the one person was helping when we had general permits, and now they're saying that there's more work.
Need a second person.
Right, and it's municipal work too that's making the extra work for them, right, for the municipality. So they'd like to have this position. Dennis, did you have something on?
I was just, for the council, for the public, this is a federal mandate that the county has decided, has proffered that they would provide the bulk of the services.
Yeah, I'm sorry, could you stand up?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's a county, the federal mandated policy that the county said they would provide the bulk of the services, but they would like all the municipalities to share in bearing the costs of compliance. So that's what this is. It's a document that all the municipalities reviewed, had input into, and passed about 6 months, maybe a year ago. So this is in furtherance of that and our obligations to contribute towards our proportionate share based on a formula that's in the document.
Right, so we're already from the town-county agreement basically spending about $35,000 a year towards that joint effort, plus one position of $4,000, plus now a second position of about $3,600.
So we're gonna be up to about $40,000 by the time it's all done, right?
Well, I'll go ahead and do it. I'll make a motion that we authorize the mayor to sign a letter of support for the position from the town of Sykesville for the additional, well, how was the motion, so I'll leave it at that.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Something tells me the county's not gonna approve it anyway, so.
Maybe not, but they might because, well, so we don't know. Okay, but no more, because now it's 40 grand. That's a lot, man, for, like you said, stormwater management.
Right,
Okay.
although just to put it in a little perspective, they're working on our Shannon Run and
Kara.
Hawk Ridge.
Yeah.
Stormwater facilities, we're talking probably at least a project of about $1 million. And our share is putting in our 30 or 40,000, I mean, our $33,000 to $35,000 a year, so it's not a bad trade.
Well, I think that's the point. I don't think we really had a choice when we joined them. It was because the towns could never afford these kind of stormwater costs that came with. So, good point, thank you for clarifying that. It's a reminder.
And the county is picking up a large share of the.
Yeah. Okay. So they benefit from it too, though. They can do county-wide stormwater now inside of municipalities, so that helps us. But
Right, and this is what, the percentages all even out, county and municipalities.
correct. Okay, town energy contract. For a number of years, the town has been working with CQI Associates to procure energy from the town. I think they just broker large blocks of energy, and they requested bids, and the results are attached. So they recommended that we sign this 2-year agreement starting in May 16th with Next Era based on.
I think that's a good place to,
End it.
right,
Okay.
that's the explanation.
That's good. So there you go. So we need authorization for the mayor to sign the electricity sales agreement, which is between Next Era Energy Services and the town of Sykesville, and will be effective for a 24-month period starting in May 2016. Is there any questions?
So that's a fixed rate, it won't change in that 24-month period.
Correct.
Okay. I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the electricity sales agreement, which is between Next Era Energy Services Maryland LLC and the town of Sykesville, that will be effective for a 24-month period starting May 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll abstain. And any opposed? Okay. Alrighty, so I think that concludes our open session items, correct? I appreciate everybody for cooperating on a timely meeting this evening. And then, so we need to read our closed session block. Julia, do you want to do the honors?
Sure.
Now that Al's missing. Al. You're here, Al, do you remember it?
Just brought it back.
Well, it's good to see you guys here tonight.
Make sure you sign in, you're a visitor now.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and put your phone number and email down so we can get you back for volunteers. All right, so
Okay,
Julia.
so closed session, the meeting is proposed to be closed pursuant to the general provisions of the annotated Code of Maryland, Section 3-305B1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. 3, to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related to the acquisition. And 7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. So we'll be consulting with legal counsel on property acquisition, potential litigation, and the Warfield contract negotiations. And we'll be discussing personnel, staffing updates, confidential personal information. Motion for a 5-minute recess.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. 5-minute recess.
Sitting out here.